Hey, welcome Korea. Super excited to be here for you guys today. However, I should be there in personal, but I couldn't. But I took a really great video all about the trend collection Emerge. So we're going to talk about trends. I'm going to show you a demonstration with the cut, with the color, with the styling. So come on to the journey and let's see where I got the inspiration from first. Okay, so I'll take you guys into my head how I got the inspiration for the collection. Because what I do is I look in the world around us. So this presentation will also be like in 3 parts. So first I'm going to take you into like what's going on in the world. Second part, how is fashion and design react on that? And the third part, I'm going to do a demonstration how we actually created the collection for Emerge according to the inspiration. So, spirit of design. I thought it was nice to see like the spirit of design, you know, how is all of this working? But before we do that, let's take a look what's going on in the world at the moment. Well, a lot of things are going on, right? We live these days in like a chaotic time. So when we zoom out and when I just go over, it's in a paradox of things. So yes, there are a lot of conflicts going on. We had some crises from electricity to you name it, to our environment, to our climate change. All these things are going on. I know it doesn't sound so good. However, we really become creative from these kind of things, but we have to look on what's happening now to see how we can respond on that and what we do with it. I want to show you guys a little video. Let's take a look.
Some call me nature. Others call me Mother Nature. I've been here for over 4.5 billion years. 22,500 times longer than you. I don't really need people, but people need me. Yes, your future depends on me. When I thrive, you thrive. When I falter, you falter. Or worse. But I've been here for eons. I have fed species greater than you, and I have starved species greater than you. My oceans, my soil, my flowing streams, my forests, they all can take you or leave you. How you choose to live each day, whether you regard or disregard me, doesn't really matter to me. One way or the other. Your actions will determine your fate, not mine. I am nature. I will go on. I am prepared to evolve. Are you?
Wow. But when we zoom in and take a look how people cope and deal with this, because we all want to be part of the solution and people get creative then. Let's take a look how that is happening. Like we see Billie Eilish on the cover of Vogue. She's in conversation with very young climate activism. Or we see companies like Patagonia, they give away all their profits for nature. We seek in connection with nature in all ways. And we learn from nature, from their intelligence. People are looking for connections, spiritual, but also meditation. That becomes also so popular. But we also see a seek for imagination. We must dream, the momentarily disappearing wonder of whatever it can be. yin-yang, where opposite forces are seen as interconnected and counterbalancing. The paradox world where we live in. And what does that do with us? The extreme rapid development that we see, let's take a look at our social media. TikTok, who has more than 900 million downloads in the shortest amount of time. We see things happening. On our Instagram, we have our Instagram. But besides our Instagram, we have also now a Be Real. What does that mean? Like in Instagram, it's not real anymore. We have another site where we want to put our daily things on there. Can you still get it? Or let's take a look at the influencers. The influencers who are very popular to just promote everything. Now we see the upcoming of the de-influencer because we don't believe it anymore. We don't know what we see, we don't know what's happening. Or we had the YOMO and the FOMO and the FOLO and all these things of the rapid change, of the fear of missing out, of the joy of missing out. And now we also got AI coming in there too. So many rapid changes. We don't even know what to see anymore. Let's take a look at the next video.
Our generation lives in a paradox. On one hand, we love to express our style and creativity online. On the other, we want to reduce all the production waste that has a negative impact on the environment. A paradox caused by the unwritten rule that we can't be seen online in the same outfit twice. So how do we secure a better future while maintaining our creative output online? With a digital clothing collection, a series of virtually fitted fashion items that you only wear in digital space. This is how it works. First, you take a picture. You choose a product from the web shop before a 3D tailor adjusts the product to your image. Now, your outfit is ready to be shared on social media. This is a new way of expressing our fashion creativity without leaving a negative footprint on the world.
Digital clothes, we don't even buy them ourselves. Are we going to look on our social media like this in the future? Things are happening. But besides our clothes, let's take a look. I don't know if you guys know her. So this girl, she had like 1 million followers already before people knew that she wasn't real. So she's a generated influencer and she had millions of followers. And then they put out that she wasn't real. But she was in the campaigns for Prada already, so they were using it. So where are we going? AI, huge, all over the world. We all talk about AI. What is it going to do for us? Is it a dilemma? Or how is it going to look? A lot of cool stuff comes out as well, but also a lot of things that we don't know what to believe, right? If you take a look here, like the Pope, we all saw this picture. Well, that wasn't real. Or what's happening over here with Trump, that wasn't real either. And an interesting thing, an image is generated over here, like nature, with a campfire, but the campfire is in a tent. AI doesn't know these kind of things, so we don't know that yet. But it is influencing our world. Also in the beauty industry, but beautiful imaginary things can be done with it as well. We see these images are all like with AI, and AI is integrating our world. So what is the new normal? We're going to see. What do we know? What can we define? What is normal? That's why the paradox thinking is going on. And that is actually what I took for the inspiration for the collection as well, like those two opposites, and bring them together. We have the nature, we see the influence. But what if we have the nature now with AI? This is an image inspired on how could the future city look like? And AI generated this image. How cool is that? But designers also get beautiful inspiration of things. They look different. We come up with new ideas and new feeling. Fashion is inspired on that as well. another opposite, like the exuberance and normality. So things exuberance mean way over the top, that the normal things will be enlarged. So think about a movie like Emily in Paris, also with the clothes design, everything over the top, big shapes, also with humor, a little cartoonish as well, good and bad taste. All those opposites we see happening in design with shapes. Look at this jacket, changing with the big blobs, the puffiness in there. Or what we see like enlarged accessories. So not a small chain, no, it's big, everything can be done. So it's a maximalism of the normal things that we see what's happening. Now, if we take all of this inspiration, and let's take this and summarize that a little bit, because it's a long story. But if we take this together with the nature and the artificial and the exuberance and the normality, let's take a look how I work with my team and get that as an inspiration for the hair. So when you see this mood board, and then we use it in looks, and of course we didn't go over the top too much because we still want to have it in a commercial manner. Later on I'm going to talk more about the styles as well. But just inspiration-wise, I want you to take you guys with me, like how we actually execute this actually in hairstyles. And these are for the other looks, the look and feel of the collection. So emerge, the appearing of something new, of something different. And that's what we want to achieve in our collection. So let's take a look at all of them. Together, 4 looks we have in the book with different styling variations in there. I'm going to demonstrate now one of the looks, and then I'm going to make a slight change on that to get just a different feel, and I'll talk you guys through that. Okay, so let's get my mannequin and let's get into cutting some hair. Okay, let's start with the haircut. What I'm going to do is Bridget, so we see behind me with longer hair, longer, beautiful hair, a lot of layers in the hair. I want to do that haircut. I'm just going to tell you guys how step by step I go through. I'll make slight changes on it. So, and the changes will be mainly on length, because I think it's interesting to see, you know, how longer or how shorter we make the length, it will change in shape. Okay, so let's start with the sectioning, what we did on Bridget. So we got a lot of increased layers, like what you can see behind me, and we are going to create shorter layers on top. So I pre-sectioned the head already. So we got a triangle at the top, and along the hairline, I have that sectioned off already too. And the nape, we keep that separate for later on. So this big triangle will have some shorter increased layers, but I'm going to start at the front part, in her face, because I really want to take a look, I want to frame her face. I took also slightly wider parting around her hairline than what I actually did in the book. And this is a fun part to play with, because, you know, we see these days layering, it's very popular, and with like the mullet layers with the shorter on top and also with the fringes. So we can play around with that. So I took a little bit of a wider section to have a stronger fringe area and also shorter at the side. This all will be disconnected. I'm going to work with the razor this time because I really want to keep that softness in the hair. Okay, so after I just went parallel along the hairline, and I'll just show that on here as well, I'm going to take my first section over here. I'll just take like a little strand and I squeeze this together, so I pinch it together, and then I'm going to determine my length So what length, how long do I want to have the fringe? I go slightly a little bit shorter, just because I can. So I'm going to hold that in a low projection angle, pinch this together, and I go from the two sides with my razor. So I'm not going flat on top, but I go from one side, and I work to the center, and then from the other side, and then I also work towards the center in the length that I want. So we create those little V shapes in here. So when we take a closer look too, we can see it really well. So it depends also how wide I take that strand over here, how stronger my V will be. So then also my fringe will be a slightly different length. So what I'm doing over here too, I project it with low projection, pinch it together, and again I'm going to take a look later on for my length. I want to end up over here, but I start a little bit shorter because then I work towards my finger till middle of the strand. Then I go with my razor from the other side of the strand, and I also work towards the center like that. And how longer my strokes are, how softer that will be. So that is also a matter of choice, what you want to create. I want to keep a little bit of that edginess in there, so I don't make too long of a stroke. So over here again, I'm going to take a look, keep my fingers, I want to end up over here, low projection angle from here, and I work from one side of the strand, and then from the other side, and then towards the center. And later on, I can just refine the perimeter a little bit. Take that one too. That's not a problem. I follow along a slight diagonal back direction. And over here, this last one, I want to end up there. And I got my length. See, so you see my diagonal length, my fringe length. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Let's wet it down a little bit more. Going to work, let's turn it around a little bit more. Same thing, so I pinch it together and go from one side and from the other side. And then when I'm done completely with this, I'm going to take a look of the length if I want to adjust that a little bit. So this can be done with a longer fringe or with a really short fringe. It really depends on how strong you want to have that area. Then I'm going to take a look. Now I have to turn around a little bit. To see if I end up and if I want to adjust here and there a little bit. And later on, when it's dry, I can definitely personalize that a little bit more. But you see, with a little bit more fringe compared to what's in the book, it gives it a little bit more edge to the look as well, and I like that. Okay, so now we're going to work our way up to the next parting, next subsection what I took, and that's the triangle on the top. So I'm just going to put the profile, you guys can really see well what I'm doing over here. I keep using the razor. Let me wet it down first, the whole thing, so that I don't have to do it parting by parting. So now I'm going to create the length on the top of the head. I'm going to start in the center of this triangle subsection what I take. So I'm going to take over here, keep that over there. So I'm going to determine my length now at the top. Now, in the book we left it a little bit longer. She had way longer hair. This mannequin has a little bit shorter hair. And I also want to create a little bit more, like what I mentioned, a little bit more edgy in the look. So I'm going to take a look if I go and determine my length, because I'm going to bring it all straight up in this length. And then I can see in the natural fall, where will that fall? And how steep? Because that depends also how steep I hold my fingers, if I really want to have the longer length, or if I want to have it layered a little bit more over here. Well, the first one, you know, it's always better if you leave it a little bit longer and you go in there, than when it's like a little oops and it's too short, and then you have an issue, or you create art. Right, so let's take a look over here. So I'm bringing it all up first to see, like with my length. Now, I don't want to connect it. I make my fringe a little bit short. I don't want to connect it there. I want to have some overlapping length. I'm going to play with later on as well. So I'm going to determine my shortest length over here at the front, and now also with the razor I go behind my fingers. I cannot go all the way through, so I go to like the second knuckle because I don't have any tension in here anymore. So I just want to redistribute, and I want to redistribute it also straight up. So I comb the hair fastest way to the ceiling, only my finger position is slightly angled to increase some length. So on how much? Take a look. So I bring it straight up over here, and then I move on with my razor. Again now, it's not a huge edging stroke. It's just a little. I want to have the softness, but I don't want to have really like thin ends. Bring this one up, and then just go in here and take a look like why my length will fall. So I do got a lot of layers in here, and it will increase a little bit more, of course, towards the back. So from this point here, I'm just going to continue and bring all the hair straight up. So I keep doing the same thing. So I'd like to take the whole parting over here, even if I have to redistribute that. But I bring it straight up, fastest way to the ceiling. So I'm not going to converge it all to the center, but just the fastest way to the ceiling. Now I see my length guide from the first one. I'm just going to follow along that. You see, I have to redistribute. Redistribute the hair. There's my length guide. Go behind my fingers. And you see now also, I hold my razor slightly different. You see, I don't hold it like that. I can do that, but I'd like to go from the underneath like this. If I hold it like this, I really have to angle so much it can hurt my wrist. So this is way easier in this manner to do it. And also at the fringes. So I'm doing that slightly different. And then I take my other parting over here, and I just bring it fastest way to the ceiling, and behind my fingers I can see my guideline. And I work my way to the end of that subsection. And also my last, all the hair, last one, bring this straight up. There's my length guide, and I go underneath my fingers, small motion. redistribute, there we go. And the last part. Then I have my length. From one side, I'm going to connect now on the other side to me, so I go back. So I can leave this here. I want to have a connection from the other side, for the other side. So I take my length guide and go back to the center again and then work towards myself. You see now I stay in the same position. So I just want to keep it easier on myself to just stay in the same position. Otherwise, if I go from the other side, I have to hold my fingers like that. That's not necessary now. So it's easier to just from one way I can hold my fingers and move along with the same procedure and not turning my hand position. Always when that's possible, it's always the best way to do it to keep more consistency in your work. Not always we can do it, so later on you will see my position change a little bit. But now I don't have to change anything of my position, I just keep going on in the same procedure. Come here, straight up. If you don't see your length, there's my length guide, there's the shortest length. So go from here, redistribute, yeah, straight up. So you see, I don't want to shift it all forward. You can do that. You know, what will happen when you shift it all forward, I even maintain longer length. So let's say I really want to go very short in there and go to longer length. You can do that. But that's not a choice now, what we make. So, and that's what I really want to accomplish with this idea, with this haircut as well, that you guys see and understand what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, and then adjust it on your clientele. Because with our trend collection, we want to give you ideas, some inspiration. I shared with you the inspiration where it was from, but we also want to give you some techniques and that you can adapt it to your clientele. Because we all have a different clientele. And if you understand the techniques, you can easily think like, oh, it needs to be way longer because I don't want to have that strong shape. Or you want to have it edgier and leave more disconnected areas. Because how more disconnection you have, how more edgy it will look. And if that suits your client, maybe your younger clientele, you can easily do that. So that's why we always want to explain the techniques, what we do, why we do it, so that you can really create your own design decisions on that, how you execute it on your clientele. Okay, so I'm going to take a look here. If I got the last part of my triangle. Bring that all up. There we go. Then we can see, oh, I got a little piece from this side, you see, but still. Just double check myself. I can see my line over here. It's horizontal, so that is okay. So I got my length now on top. And you see, you know, it's really nice to start with the layering on top because that will do a lot for the shape, right? So when I got a little bit of overlap, I will create more overlap because now I'm going to continue on the side. Now, let's turn it around. And now I that away. I do like to keep the hair wet. Good wet when I work with the razor. Sharp razor, wet hair. It's really that it's convenient for your client as well. So I got my layers now. I'm going to connect. I'm going to start actually at the side first. So I take a vertical parting and I got my shorter length in there as well. So my shorter length, so I see my longest length from this part here. From here I'm going to take also, I'm going to increase my length. Now, how long I want to go really depends how the length around her face. How much length do I want to keep, or do I want to go a little bit shorter? So I can easily check that, like, okay, so let's say in a natural fall, I want to keep it there. So I angle my fingers also non-parallel over here. From this point here, my length, where's my length? There it is. My longer length. So I go from here in like a 90 degrees, but my fingers are non-parallel. And I work also again behind my fingers. With small strokes to the end. There we go. I'm going to take a look because I really want to increase the length from there, especially at the back later on, so there will be even more. So from the side, I bring that up. There's my guide. From that length, I go from here. Project out the hair here like on a 90 degrees. And take a look. Sometimes it's good to just step away, take a look. If you think, oh, it's really way too long or heavy underneath, you can still go in there. But take a look on what you're doing. So then I take another vertical parting. There's my length guide. So from my length guide there, I go like in a 90 degrees and I can see there where I need to make my connection. I'd like to do the sides first. So I have one side first now. Now I'm going to move first to the other side. And then later on, the nape we're going to do with a different technique. I'm going to make a slight change. So let's turn her around now and go from here. The same. And why do I turn her around now? Because then I can stay in the same way. If I would go from the other way, I have to go like that with my razor. I could do that, but it's a little inconvenient. So now I turn my client that I can stay in the same manner. Let's wet down. There we go. Here too, so there's my length guide. See, so I hold it from here. In a 90, non-parallel finger position, behind my fingers, I create my increased length. Take another part, vertical parting, take a part of my previous with me as a guideline. See, there's my length guide. With my small to medium edging stroke, I work towards the longer length. And also with this last vertical section here by the ear. You see too, with combing, I do want to comb this up. There could also be an idea for you to comb up if you want to do it right away. Sometimes it can be painful also when you do that in the nape with your client. So just go like gradually, I comb it up like that. Not that I pull everything up right away. Gradually, I comb it up. There's my length guide here. Go behind my fingers. There we go. There, last part. So that is on the sides. Now, I still have some overlapping length. We're going to keep that for later on. Now we have to start in the back area. So let me just turn her around again. Let me see, I'm going to stand from this side. And again, I'm going to look at the shape. I'm going to start in the center and then going to connect it. So I'll just bring it up a little bit more. And wet it down to keep the hair wet. Now I'm going to take in the center of the back, vertical parting. Going to comb the hair up. There's my length guide. So from here, I can see how non-parallel I want to go. Let's take that again to have a good look, because I'm going to determine, yeah, my length over here now. So there's my length guide. And I do project it, and I do project it now straight out, because I do want to have a little bit more softness in here. So think about how higher you project, how longer, more weight. If you go a little bit lower, in this case, and then create a little bit more layers in here, we have less weight. So I really want to have a little bit more of that mullety feel in there. So that's why I just go for some shorter length so that I don't bring it up too much. So the next one too, I just bring this towards me. There's my length guide. You see it right there. I go behind my fingers. Now, you can see that I hold it slightly different than what we do here in the book. Let me go to the back over here. Now, I hold it like this because my lengths are a little bit shorter, instead of holding it above and go like that under my fingers. So you can do it in both ways. I choose now that I stand like this, that I don't have to go too high for my shoulders as well. So a lot of times so with certain things we can do in different ways, but we also want to think of our body position. So I choose now to just work like this. I comb the hair then differently as well. You see, I'm going to scoop the hair and I bring it straight back. I'm not going to comb it and try to hold the hair like that. I'm just going to flip my comb. So I comb it from both sides. And I can flip my comb, and then I see like, there's my length guide, and I'm going to connect and I redistribute, and you see that I bring the hair down here a little bit so I don't project it too much up, so I bring it out a little bit more to create softer and more layers. Just as a little variation, and I take a look. And I keep going with vertical partings. Now I'm going to bring this back. I'm not going to move along with the curve of the head like this, because then I will really go very short over there, and I don't want to go too short. So now I keep going with my vertical parting, and I just bring it straight towards myself. And there's my length guide, and I just follow along So I bring that more straight back, and in this case I go with like the hair distribute more horizontally to really create those layers in here. See, so I scoop the hair all the way back like that. And the last, I bring this last part as well. Still have the overlap over there. See, I do got my length in here a little bit more by bringing this back. Okay, same I'm going to do on the other side. And I stay in the same way. There's my length guide. It's on the top, and then I bring it back, more vertical partings. Let me wet it down a little bit more. Same procedure, so I don't have to move along. I do keep my hand position the same way throughout as well. So not that when you go from the other side that you do this. Also when I go shorter, if I can keep it in the same manner like now, I'll keep it like that. So all for consistency. There's my length guide. Okay, so I move along with the same partings and then all the way also up more towards the end so that I go here straight back. So keep that in mind, so I maintain a little bit more length. So I'm following along and then over here. Layer that a little bit, and I bring the back just in case if there's a longer piece, but it's actually not even reaching, so all the hair now is layered. Now let's take a look. Now the fun part, the personalization, is going to start now. So we see, dry it in a little bit. Now we're going to play around. We have a few things to go. We still have our overlapping length, what we see in here. Okay. I do like to keep some overlapping length. So the texturizing technique that I'm going to use is that I just take this overlapping length and I'm going to weave through with my razor and take some length out. So we just go like that. So I weave through like that and just softly, this time I kind of take some length out, and this one I don't touch. So I just want to keep some of those length over here too. Weave through. Take a look what it does. And this is very visual. I cannot say like, oh, you do 1, 2, or it really depends on the thickness of the hair. How much do we want to keep those overlap? Keep it heavier. I don't want to keep it so heavy. So I'm just really look around where I want to take some hair out. So the same on the other side. So I just comb the overlapping length, go with my razor into it. Also over here, take some hair, some length out in between. And then I still want to like finalize a little bit more of the perimeter, and definitely also in the nape, because you see this is I do want to have a lot of layers there, but I don't want to have it too thin. So we're just going to take a look. I want to take a look at the length over here, and then we see what we want to adjust. So I want to wet it down a little bit more. And I want to keep the same softness. So I will keep using the razor. Okay, so in the nape, I want to have it a little bit more solid. So I use the arcing technique. So what I'm doing, I comb the hair in the natural fall. And you see it up close. I go behind my fingers with my razor. I put my razor on top of my fingers over here. And then I just arc through. And you can see that I can get a really pretty good straight line on there. So I got a little bit more weight at the perimeter over here. So I'm going to show you guys from the other side as well. So let's turn her around and bring her up a little bit. There we go. So from here too, so you can see I hold it in the natural fall. I go behind my fingers with my razor on top, and then I just arc through. So I kind of C-shape up to cut that stronger line, which you can see over here. Okay, so now for the rest, I can see it depends a little bit how much hair left. This is just a little bit, so I can bring it all down, and I can just do this along the horizontal line all the way through. So then it's not so I have a lot of layers. I got slightly little bit more weight by using that arcing technique. So you see how many different techniques we have also with the razor. So we can have really soft lengths, how longer my motion is, how softer the hair length will be, and how shorter my motion, how stronger it will be. But still we have some little bit of softness at the end. Okay, so now let's take a look what we created in here. So I see my layers, and I got my disconnection over here. And then also on the side length, I can take a little bit more pieces here and there out by just twisting it and go in there. But I do want to take a look later on when it's dry as well. I don't want to do too much. Always watch out also with texturizing. Sometimes you think, oh, take a lot of hair out in between, and then it becomes too fine or too thin. So later on we can take a look. What I want to do now is I'm going to dry her quickly because I want to show a quick, fun coloring technique, slightly different than also what we did on the video. So I'll be back in a sec. Okay, so in the meantime, I dried the mannequin and the sun starts shining in Holland. How good is that? You see the layers now, and I just left it loose on one side because I want you guys to take a look of the layering that you create and where we do want to have the placement of the color. Because you see behind me over here that we have like randomly, we have some partings where we color, and it's mainly like in the exterior where the layers are. So how high or how low, you really have to take a look like, okay, do I want to have some color in this area? Where do I place, my section? And then so we're going to take a look at that. So I did that a little bit on the other side already. So we're going to show you on the other side. I do want to have a part in the nape area. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to lighten it up first part, and then later on with like a semi-permanent color over it, we'll just do the whole thing, and then you guys will see the result. So for the lightening part, so I took a look already when the hair was loose, like, okay, where do I want to have a lighter area? I do want to have some lightness in here. Now, you guys can see on the images as well, It's not done with a really strong contrast, so it really depends how light do you want to, how long do you leave the light now in there, how strong you want to have that contrast. So you can play around with that, and also how many pieces you take. Now in this area, in the nape area, I want to have throughout some light now in there, but I do not want to have any color demarcation in there. So no lines. So I just want to have some softness in there. So softness of color. So I do hold the hair between my fingers softly, because now with my comb I go all the way from the points, from my fingers all the way up, and do that again, and do that again. And this whole part I'm going to color. So that is a lot. That's not only the ends. Later on I'll do something with the ends. I'm going to play around with that a little bit. So this is the area that I want to color. And then I'm just going to put my color board underneath and I hold it. And I start applying the color. And never start all the way at the top. So first what I want to do is I'll just add a lot of color over here. And then I go in the ends. And then I'm going to move up. And I do that with my brush also on a vertical. So not horizontally, because like what I mentioned, I don't have any color demarcation in the hair. So I just move up. And later on, what I backcombed, that will definitely go and cover, diffuse the line. But still, I want to have that nice and soft, but I do want to have some lighter color in the nape area. I want to be sure that it's really penetrated through this time too. So I just hold it, turn my board, turn that, and be sure that from the ends that it's all the way penetrated through. Doesn't have to be all the way up here. And then I just let this hang like that. And I don't have to put any foil on it. It's okay to just let it hang like that. Then I'm going to take another strand over here, what I sectioned out already, like horizontal. This one I want to focus a little bit more on the ends. So I do go back comb, but not all the way through. So I'm just going to go by little motion. And you see my comb, I do it very soft. I'm not going to mess up all the hair. Later on, I really want to comb through as well. So now I just do a little bit more only with small motions, not all the way from base to the end, but just with small motions. So I bring that up a little. And then with the ends over here, I'm going to just color that part. So again, my board, I don't put my board all the way up there because I don't want to go all the way by the scalp. So I just hold it underneath. Again, I do more application of product in the mid-strand and ends first. I penetrate that through, and then I brush it in vertical with my brush like that. And a little bit more product. And I have that all covered. Let's say if you do have like a thicker strand, if you only go like this, you only have the surface, and then we can turn it around, but it's always good too to just go, you see, I kind of rub it in with my brush in different directions instead of only staying at the top. So I really want to have that part to penetrate through. And to be sure at the ends, just hold it with my brush, take my board, turn it around, and be sure that I have it all at the ends. Turn it back, and I just let it hang. So with your client, you don't want to have it on her face, so be sure or put something underneath. And if you want to make a stronger contrast or so, you can also put it in a foil. I just want to show you guys for the technique what I did now, and I'll just leave it like that. Sit in. So with some different techniques, so all the way from the end, a couple of times up, or only just build it up. So this one will be again from the end. So I hold it between my fingers softly. My comb, I don't go 90 in here, so it just go very soft with my comb. I don't have to knot it up. And I really want to have like a longer length in here to just for the depth and dimension in the hair. And I go a little higher up And again, a lot of product I apply first, mid-strand and ends, and then I go gradually up, brush it in. Rub it back and forward, that it's all penetrated through on my brush. Take the board, turn around. And I just let it sit. So then I do want to have, so I have it over here, I do want to go up with one more. So I'm going to take a look where that will be, where my layers will fall over. Leave that one out. So take a look of your placement. This will fall over. So I do want to have, like, let's say a piece in here. So I'm just going to take a strand. And I want to have it a little bit, it's for the end. So I'm just going to build that up a little bit more. So with a small motion in here. So you see, I'm going to do the same technique here. And then later on, I'll do the same thing on the other side. You can choose, and I'll choose to go or symmetrical, that we do the same on both sides, or to go a little bit asymmetrical. I'll probably go asymmetrical. I like that. I like it when a color is not exactly the same. It's more for the dimension in there, and it doesn't have to be exactly the same piece what's sitting here on the other side. And I can take a look. You can go up higher. Maybe I'll bring up one higher even, so you can kind of play with that. So I'm going to fix this also on the other side, and then we let it process, rinse, and then I put my other semi-permanent color over it, and then I'm going to show you guys the result, and we'll do some styling. Okay, so hang in there, I'll be back. Okay, we're back with the color. So after I did the parts I lightened, then I just did like one semi-permanent color all over it. So you see a slight color differentiation around where the lighter pieces are. Not too contrasty, but it really gives depth and dimension. Now, I want to do some styling with it. I did pre-dry it. The way how I did it is just with like a flat brush, and I just went in first, everything I went up. So I took horizontal partings and I just went up to really focus on the base. And I did that all the way through, and then I just went it back and forth to just smooth it out, and that I can move on later on with the flat iron. I'm going to do a technique. And on the other side, I also pre-dried it first, but this is 85% dry. And what I'm going to do over here, I want to do with blow drying with the round brush. So to just give it on both sides two total different feelings. Okay, so on this side, I'm going to work with the round brush. And I want to give it just that softer feel in the hair. And the other one, when we're going to do it with the flat iron, it will be like a different look and feel. So I want to show you guys both. So on this side, like what I mentioned, I pre-dried it. Now I go with my round brush in here, and I'm just going to wrap it around along a diagonal, and I'm going to wrap up the hair. So let me turn my blow dryer on. Along a diagonal, and I wrap it, and I twist. And I twist. And I leave it like that. Then with my another strand that I take, I do it in the other direction. So I go backwards and I wrap it in the other direction and just let it sit. Important is to let it cool off this way, because then later on we get that soft direction in there. So I don't comb, I don't work on it at the moment. I just leave this. I'm going to move on with the rest. So I pick up, so I do the front forward, and here and there I do some pieces that I turn in the other direction. On a diagonal, wrap it, twist, twist, pull it back and let it cool off. This one I also do forward, and the other one I'll do backwards. So I just play with that a little bit just to get a really nice and soft feeling in the hair in different directions. And especially the cool down is very important. So I move up with the same procedure all the way up, not too much volume at the top. I don't want to have it really high, so I keep it in the same direction and I move along with the same procedure. Okay, later on we're going to reveal the side with blow drying with the round brush. Now I want to do the styling on the other side. So I start in the nape, using the flat iron, take a horizontal parting. My first section that I take, I will just clamp first all the way, and then I just go back and forward, down. So just to get a little bit of that movement in there. Then I take another parting, and with this parting, because I don't want to create all the volume from here, so with this parting, I do going to take it in two parts. I'm also going to create a wave, but I'm going to create it more flat. So I just go in this direction, and then I just feed the hair into my flat iron. All the way to the end. So I get both ways. I got a wave. One is with a little bit more volume, and this one is just to keep it more flat. So I'm just going to work alternating with this technique. Feed it in there, and it doesn't have to be picture perfect, because it's nice to have a little bit of that irregularity in there. Then I take another horizontal parting, this one all the way up to the side. And this one will be like the first one I did. So I can just take like a parting the same width as my flat iron, and just go first all the way through, then I hold it, and then I go and go back and forward. Just get a little bit of that wave, that movement in there. And how further I turn my flat iron, how stronger that movement will be. But I don't want to have too much width, so I just keep it minimal. And I keep working all the way up to the top with alternating these two techniques. So this one again, I'm just going to feed that into my flat iron. I keep it flat now. I go sideways, and I just feed it in. And I just let it cool off like that, and I work all the way up. So I did both styling techniques now. Let's take a look. This is the side that I did with the flat iron, with the wave, and we can see how the hair is softly moving away. Also take a look at the shape. Because then if we take a look at the other side, what I did with the blow dryer in the different directions, it's a little bit more bouncier, more softer. So little details, what really can make a change for your client. It depends what type of client you have. So, and also if we take a look at the back, so this haircut is slightly shorter than the one behind me, and that will also change the shape. So that is the idea we want you guys to get across with this whole collection, on the cut, on the color, and on the styling. So my Korean friends, I hope you enjoyed it, how I got inspired by our collection, how I slightly adjusted it, because it's all about inspiration and having fun. So I hope you guys will have just as much fun, because it's a great profession where we're at. So I hope to see you next time in real life. Thank you. Bye.